that position that you're in if you were truly contentious to the powers that be. If you were truly covering, things that you are not supposed to be covering, then you would not get to the position of interviewing people. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be a fucking host. Anyway, so let's talk about dude, this is so funny. Isn't Noam Chomsky a lib? He's a libertarian. Chomsky, the first thing I do in the morning is read the New York Times. It's the best newspaper in the world. You want some general sense of what's going on? That's where you go. I mean, he's not wrong. That's still true. The reason why we're hypercritical of the New York Times, especially as it pertains to State Department propaganda, is that because it's like literally it's supposed to be the gray lady. That's the point. I tell you this all the time. When I am skeptical of mainstream media narratives, notice how I never talk about certain narratives that like the right wing is hyper-focused on, okay? There's a reason for that, because I understand that the underlying material interests of why the New York Times is covering certain stories over others is sometimes valid, okay? It doesn't mean that like everything that every moment, every letter that they ink on the fucking paper is literally false, okay? It's not riddled with falsehoods. It's not. And you have to get the news somewhere. And they do a profoundly important thing, Associated Press, New York Times. It's just that when you're consuming it, you have to be critical of what you are consuming. You have to be a little bit better with your understanding of what their perspective is, where their biases lie, okay? And the unfortunate reality is that, like, there is no media literacy, unfortunately, is not taught in a Marxist sense. You will never learn media literacy from a Marxist perspective because you're going to a neoliberal institution of learning. So when you learn about media literacy, you're learning a liberal understanding of media literacy. A literal understanding of, or a liberal understanding of media literacy means you just fucking look at the New York Times and you say, this is correct across the board. It's always good. It's infallible. It is the most moral and most correct way to approach stories. Okay? And that's not true. There are plenty of instances where they fall short. What are some key points of leftist media literacy? Always look to what the underlying material reasons are for why certain stories are covered with certain perspectives. One thing that I can give you, it's like building biases basically, but if you want to understand like how an article is covered, always look to what sources they're covering. For example, when you talk about police brutality, I mean, I say this all the time. It's not just the New York Times. It's not just NPR. It's all of mainstream media, that outlets that you consider to be otherwise very good outlets, right? When people cover police brutality, they always go to the police. When people cover police brutality, why the fuck are you going to the police? Why are you asking other former policemen, police chiefs, and people that work for, security contractors and whatnot, what their perspective is, when you should be only talking to victims' families, okay? And you should only be talking to like public defenders and activists. But they don't do that. They talk to police officers. They talk to ex-police officers. They talk to police chiefs. They talk to people who still have contracts with, police departments all around the world sometimes. That is a bias. Why do they have that bias? Because they work in line with the police. They are defenders of capital. Police protect and serve the interests of capital, and so does the New York Times. So whenever there's an issue of police brutality, their job is not to put it on the paper and give you the actual fucking truth of it and tell you exactly what ways to modify or fix the problem. Their job is to normalize that violence, and sometimes normalizing that violence also means looking at the tip of the iceberg and saying, that's abnormal, but that's very different than the rest of the violence that continues on a daily basis as police operate like occupying forces in black and brown neighborhoods. This was a very apparent thing that I tried to pummel into your fucking brain when we were talking about the Cobra unit, right? With the execution of Tyree Nichols. Everyone immediately rushed and said, these 5 cops, they're bad. And the second thing that they said immediately after that was, or not Cobra, sorry, Scorpion unit. I apologize. I fucked it up. It's another comical 80s fucking supervillain named unit. It was the Scorpion unit, not the Cobra unit. But they did that with a purpose. They immediately banished these 5 cops as though they were like totally operating outside of the boundaries of normal policing when they clearly weren't. Okay? And that's something that you need to remember. They were operating within the boundaries of normal policing. It's just that, it was on camera and it was pretty gruesome. So they had to make it seem like this was totally different. That's why they went to other cops and they asked them, like, is this normal? And all the other cops said, no, in all my 30 years of policing, I've never seen that. No, it wasn't just because they were black. Stop. We're talking about something that is more important than black or white, okay? Because there is one additional layer. Ask any black person and they will tell you, when you are a cop, okay? You're not a black cop or a white cop. You're a cop. You're working for a white supremacist institution, whether you agree with it or whether you even recognize it or not. This is not colorblind Andy. This is straight up just the truth. According to James Baldwin, sometimes black cops are even more brutal than white cops, just to prove that they are, that they are not black, but blue instead. Okay? Anyway. So, that was a brief lesson on manufactured consent. We're going to move away from that. And we're going to get to Bernie Sanders, who claims to be a socialist, but wrote another book. Disgusting. What a liar, dude. What a Weasley little fake socialist, dude. Socialist, but writes a book? I think not.
With Senator Bernie Sanders.
If anyone knows anything about socialism, socialists hate writing books. They hate writing and reading in general. It's like a big no-no. I'm very smart. What? Nah, he's cool. This guy cosplays as Yujiro Hanma and DBZ characters to entertain his son. Oh yeah, this is... Yeah, this guy is crazy. I've seen this guy a lot. He even has a demon back, dude, kind of. This guy's dope. My TikTok just suggested this to me. The caption was just Sigma. Oh, I forgot. We're going to talk about the conservative critique of war. Good fucking call. Thank you. Before we get to Bernie Sanders and him being a fake socialist, one last thing I wanted to say about the war in Ukraine. A lot of people regularly talk about how much money we're fucking sending over to Ukraine, and some of the perspective is valid. But a lot of what conservatives talk about with respect to why or how much money we're sending into Ukraine is just bullshit. What do I mean by that? Always make note of people who say, why are we sending this money to Ukraine when we can instead be using it elsewhere, and what they are saying? Because if they are like, why are we sending this money to Ukraine? Why can't we beef up our borders? Or if they're Marjorie Taylor Greene and they say, why are we sending this money to Ukraine when we could be bombing Mexico? Which is a thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Or Ann Coulter saying, why are we sending this money to Ukraine when we could be invading Mexico? Like we did with Panama. A real thing that she said on the Tim Pool broadcast. I saw that earlier this morning on the Majority Report. Shouts out the Majority Report. Remember, when people say, why are we sending this money to Ukraine when we can be using it in other violent ways? Yes, she did say that, by the way. Both of these things I said are correct. Okay, let's see if we can, maybe you guys can send me the links. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene said it. I know Ann Coulter said it on Tim Pool. Understand that they're not anti-war. Okay? They're not anti-war. Because they're just saying, that's not a good war to fight. We got a better war to fight. And if you are anti-war, you don't say shit like that. And this is basically what Glenn Greenwald advocates for as well. They're not anti-war. They're anti-this war. Okay? So remember that. Here it is. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, President Trump was right. We should bomb the cartels because they are an international criminal organization murdering our people by lacing deadly fentanyl from China in drugs they illegally sell across our border to U.S. citizens. Not Mexico or its great people, the cartels. The Biden admin and U.S. Congress has invested 111 plus billion taxpayers' dollars in a war defending the borders of the people of Ukraine. The same admin and Congress ignore our own daily border invasion and the record high number of Mexican cartel fentanyl murders of Americans. Washington has always had a lust for war. If that's the case, they need to turn their lust towards a war that actually defends America's borders and the American people's lives. But Joe Biden is the best business partner the cartels have ever had, and Joe keeps the drugs flowing. And young Americans, teens to 45, are dying of fentanyl more than COVID, cancer, heart disease, and all other deaths combined. This is so funny. That's not true. What the fuck? That is insane. Okay, let's continue. Joe doesn't seem to mind drug abuse because he campaigned for POTUS while his daughter Ashley was in drug rehab, writing about inappropriate showers with dad. And we all know the depravity of Hunter's drug habit. Unfortunately, we had to see it on his laptop from hell. But just because Joe Biden doesn't care how many Americans die from fentanyl, why don't the rest of the demon rats care, and some Republican senators? You know who does care? The parents who find their teenager dead in their room in the morning. That family remembers, that gets that call that no one ever wants. And each time the toxicology report comes back, fentanyl. Our own federal government is failing our people, and by keeping our borders open, aiding in the cartel's murders of our people, it should not be tolerated. The federal government has a duty to defend the state's borders and our people, and it's the people who pay for it all. I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I believe that we need to have a national divorce, kind of like the divorce that I had with my husband because I was cheating on him with the CrossFit instructor. That's right. That is a real thing that Marjorie Taylor Greene, did allegedly. I was letting the whole team hit because, I wanted to explore my sexuality. Now, am I having sex with Kevin McCarthy? Some people are saying this. This might be a lie told by the liberal Democrats. Allegedly, I, Marjorie Taylor Greene, am having sex with Kevin McCarthy. Allegedly. Anyway, We need to have a national divorce, kind of like the Confederates did, but this time successfully. By the way, that's not even a lie. She wrote that. Here it is. We need a national divorce. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this. From the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous last America policies, we are done. That's right. We need to balkanize the United States of America, more like the non-United States, the divided states of America. I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I know nothing about American history, and I will tell you that this will probably be a good thing. Hud says, maybe we don't need a national divorce. Maybe we and the government can just live in other places for a while until we figure things out. Maybe things will get better. Yeah, I agree. Anyway, here is the funniest part about Marjorie Taylor Greene's absolutely insane request for Biden to bomb drug cartels in Mexico is the fact that it was his idea actually first. Let's go after the drug lords where they live with an international strike force, Jack. Super predators, I mean. Why? They don't call him Jim Crow Joe for no reason, chat. Okay? I do find that funny. Anyway, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, no fucking unique or new ideas. You know what I'm saying? Biden met President Zelensky and all the Ukrainians. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene pops off, says, impeach Biden or give us a national divorce. We don't pay taxes to fund foreign countries' wars who aren't even NATO allies. We aren't sending our sons and daughters to die for foreign borders and foreign democracy. America is broke. Criminals and cartels reign, and you are a fool. That's funny. She got so horned up to fucking pop off. She just said allies, and then she said to dies for foreign borders and foreign democracy. Do you think she's aware that blue states literally prop up red states to keep their people alive? Is she just saying virtue signaling, or is she that stupid? Yes, she's that stupid. Why not both? Why not both? It could be both. Why not both? You see the drama over the communism comment in the new Last of Us? Same foreign policy as you? Wait, what? I'm literally describing why this is an idiotic fucking take as far as foreign policy goes. And there are still people in here to be like, yeah, dude, you and Marjorie Taylor Greene agree. Marjorie Taylor Greene very openly admits that she is not interested in like any sort of peace mission. She just wants the funds and the weapons to continue flowing just to travel a war that she thinks is good. Here's why you can never trust the false anti-war positions of the right. Ann Coulter and Hannah Claire Brimelow propose pulling funding out of Ukraine and instead use it to invade Mexico.
Travel at all, go anywhere, and you will be happy to be here. Do you think that Mexico poses enough of a threat to American lives to be worth invading at any point?
It wouldn't be necessary if we built the wall.
Yeah.
But yes, to take out the cartels, I mean, it's certainly more of a threat to us than Ukraine.
Right. I mean, we sent a ton of money shipping goods and resources to Ukraine. Why wouldn't we just spend that money on the wall?
Well, not only the wall, but as for, going into their country, I mean, I don't know, this is kind of racy, but yeah, take out the cartels if they can't do it by themselves.
She follows through by literally saying we should do a Panama Canal style invasion, which, she doesn't even know the details of, doesn't even understand who she's talking about. It's pretty funny. Anyway, it's great. It's fucking awesome. It's just, yeah. What is this? The Last of Us communism clip? Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's only funnier because like Pedro Pascal himself is like a supporter of socialists, which made it even better. But his character is, of course, like supposed to be like a right-wing guy, you know, a right-wing Texan guy, rugged man. There's more gun deaths in Mexico come from gun manufacturers in the United States. I guess Mexico is a pretty compelling reason to do some strategic strikes in the USA. Yeah, good luck to that. Okay, here is Ron DeSantis saying the same shit. By the way, this is now going to be the new right-wing talking point. That's why, like, get ready for this.
First, on the president's unannounced visit, is this a good move?
Well, you know, Brian, I'm reminded of when he was vice president. Obama and Biden opposed providing lethal aid to Ukraine during those years. And then I'm also reminded that I don't think any of this would have happened but for the weakness that the president showed during his first